Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Not Yet Adults podcast. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Collin Geffrey, joined by the one and only, Eric Zayas.
Hey, I'm sure there's a lot of Erics. I think we've actually talked about this in a previous episode. There's at least 24 other Eric Zayas.
I think. I think you're the only one that has a podcast, though.
Potentially, yeah.
We need to get back into that Facebook group with all the other Eric Zayases and see if A, any of them will have a podcast, or B, if any of them want to come on this podcast. Because then I can say Eric, and they'll both be like, what? Who are you talking to?
We'll just have an episode about all of our duplicates.
We could do a spin-off show just about Eric Zayas's, and we just go around the world and find all of them.
The Eric Zayas Show, starring Eric Zayas, featuring Eric Zayas.
And like even the crew and the technical like people are all Eric Zayas, and it's like, wow, this is almost like a cult. This is very strange. Eric, how's your week going, buddy?
Pretty good. I wanted to kind of talk about something that's been on my mind recently. I was thinking about talking about like exercising and particularly like the kind of like health phases we've gone through, and I was wondering what kind of like what's your experience with exercising and like trying to be healthy and stuff like that.
So in a word, bad. My experience with exercise has been bad. I feel like for me it's very much the stereotypical like January 1st New Year's resolution of like, I'm gonna exercise, this is my thing. And in 2018 in particular, I had two New Year's resolutions. My first was to cut out caffeine. Mission accomplished. I don't have caffeine in my diet at all anymore.
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. No big deal. Humble brag. It's all fine. But I actually really enjoyed cutting caffeine out of my diet. And part of it is because I've had this weird left eye twitch. My left eye is just twitching all the freaking time. And I thought it may have been caused by caffeine. That has not been the case. Now I think it's my eye care. I think I need to get my contacts updated or something, so I got to take care of that. But anyways, off in the weeds. My other one was exercising, and I wanted to exercise every morning, which I was already mostly doing in 2017, but I would take days off or sometimes weeks off, and it was like, I just need to, commit to this. And my exercise was basically, it was nothing crazy. It was very, very light. I would do stretches for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I do like 30 push-ups and sit-ups in the morning, and then it's like some aerobic stuff, and that was it. The whole thing took not even 20 minutes. And I do it every morning. And what I found before long was, one, I wasn't seeing results. And two, it made me dread waking up. And I didn't get that feeling of like, oh, I accomplished something or I did something or I feel, energized. I feel like a lot of people talk about that in exercising, that they have this feeling of accomplishment afterwards.
Yeah, that like runner's high.
Yeah, like runner's high. And like, I just didn't. I felt just more tired and just lousy, and I didn't feel accomplished at all. And so I've fallen off. I haven't done that kind of exercise, like that deliberate morning exercise, in a few months now. But I don't know. What about you? What's your relationship with exercise, Ben?
Well, just real quick to speak to like the runner's high, I personally think it might be a myth, quite frankly. Whether it's been like high school or college or whatever, or like any time I've like been made to run, I've never had that feeling afterwards like, whoa, I got like a rush of endorphins. Like, no, it's always just been like, I want to die. I feel like dying.
It's Nike freaking putting the money in the pockets of the people to be like, yeah, running's great. Keep doing it.
Trust us. Yeah, but my experience with being healthy, it's similar to yours, in the sense that like, I don't know, well, maybe it's a little bit different because you've seemed to have like made efforts to like make like a promise to yourself to like get healthy, and for me, I've had this desire of being fit for a long time, but I don't know, I don't eat healthy enough often enough, or I don't like exercise enough. And like, I do try exercising every now and then. It's kind of just this sporadic sort of like, oh, today, I'm bored, I'll go running, and then so it'll be like once in a blue moon I'll go outside and I'll go like to a trail near my house, and I'll just like walk a bit, then jog, then sprint, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll feel good in the moment because I'm like, hey, I'm doing it, I'm being healthy, I'm doing the things, and then I'll be reminded of why I don't exercise, which is because it's painful.
You said you feel good in the moment. Is that because of how it feels, or is it because you know you're doing something that's quote unquote good for you?
Well, it's not quote unquote good for you. It is good for you.
I don't know, man. Nike, freaking, maybe they're just poisoning our minds. Maybe it's actually terrible for you.
Maybe exercise is actually just the like what's killing us. Everybody. It's like saying everybody who drinks water dies.
Hey, that's a scientific fact. That is true.
It's mainly just like not because I feel good doing it, but because like I know that it's like I'm adding value to my health and well-being. Yeah, it's just nothing ever sticks. Like I'll do that and then I'll feel sore the next day and I'll be like, well, not gonna do that again for another like few months or some crazy length of time.
What's interesting to me, and what I think we're finding out as we do more episodes of this podcast, is at a glance, I feel like you and I are pretty similar guys. Like we kind of have a similar look and similar interests and stuff like that. But when you dive into it, I feel like we're actually different in some really key, interesting ways. And I feel like your relationship with running of like, I'm just going to go run. I'm just going to go do that today. It's basically the opposite of mine of like, I don't think I have ever gone for a run just because I wanted to that day. I don't think I've ever done that in my life. The times that I have gone running is because I committed to like I'm going to do it every day this summer, or I'm going to do it every day or something like that. It was as part of a bigger agenda. And my issue with it is like a popular thing for me is during the summers, not this summer, but in past summers, I've been like, okay, I'm going to go for like a 2 or 3 mile run every morning just to like wake up and start the day. And what was frustrating for me is I did that for a whole summer and noticed no results at all. It was still just as miserable by the end of the summer as it was at the beginning. I wasn't getting faster. It was just awful. And that's really hard when you do that for an extended period of time to still be motivated to be like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. This seems like fun. So, it's a hard relationship, but that is interesting to me that you sometimes feel like I'm just going to go do this. Cause like, I don't have that relationship with exercise really.
Yeah, I think that's the only way I could exercise because I tried like doing the like gym membership thing, and just the idea that like I'm a procrastinator. I'm a major procrastinator, and when I have like an obligation to do, unless there's like a hard set deadline, I push it off. And even when there's a hard set deadline, sometimes I push it off to like the deadline, which is something I shouldn't do anymore because I should be more of an adult. When I had the gym membership, I would say like, okay, this day I'm going to go to the gym and exercise, and then it would get close to that day, and it would get closer to the time of that day when I would exercise. It'd be like, I just don't feel like it. I'm overthinking it. I'm psyching myself out. I know I'm gonna go there and be miserable. So like really the only times I would go to the gym is just like, I'm not doing it today. Screw it. I'm gonna get in the car and go right now. It would have to be a spontaneous thing. Like it's kind of like a dog who like you have to give like a pill to. The only way to give them the pill, you have to like sneak it in their food or something like that. That's a bad metaphor, but you know what I mean. Like I'd have to just like say, Eric, right now we're going, like put on your shoes. We're going to. I'd say this to myself and talk to myself in the third person, I guess. Maybe I have dissociative identity disorder. I don't know, but I'd say, Eric, put on your shoes. We're going exercising right now. And before I can regret it, I'm already at the gym and like, well, I'm already here. So
as opposed to if you plan on it and have this long period of pre-exercise, you're psyching yourself out of it basically.
Yeah, if I have time to think about it, I have enough time to make a BS excuse to not do it and to push it off, and then I keep doing that.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe that is better for some people, just spontaneously doing it. Because like for me, the one type of exercising I do love, and I will do this literally all day, is walking. I love just going for a walk. And whether it's talking to someone or being by myself, listening to podcasts, like I will walk for miles happily without getting tired. But the second I start running, I'm immediately out of breath. And I had asthma as a kid, so that may be part of it. I don't know. Maybe it is just finding that one thing that works for you. And obviously not all exercises were made equal, but maybe it's just finding that one thing that you're like, I can enjoy this, and this doesn't feel like a chore. This is something that I would do regardless of the health benefit, and it just so happens to also be healthy for me.
Yeah, I really wanted that to be like running for me. Like I wanted to make a habit of it and be the kind of person that's like, I'm gonna go for a run because that's like an enjoyable thing for me. But every time it's just pain. My lungs burn, my heart like feels like it's breaking, not like in a like a romantic love song kind of way, but like in the muscles are tearing each other apart.
Literally. I mean, yeah, you have to. My old gym teacher in school used to tell me that you have to like basically tear the old muscles apart to build new ones. And I don't know how true that is, but it sounds freaking painful and is freaking painful. So
I'm sure on like a microbiological level that's true, but I just don't like the imagery of that.
it sounds like the kind of thing that like someone said at one point, so all the gym teachers started saying it, and like regardless of whether or not it's true, it's just we're just gonna keep saying that in class. Maybe it'll catch on.
There's an aspect of exercise I could never get on board with, and that's the like no pain, no gain kind of mentality, which is just kind of like the headspace you have to get in to commit to something like that. Like exercise requires a level of grit that I just have yet to have enough like motivation or whatever you want to call it to put in.
Well, and you put it in a really interesting way, which is you have to commit a certain amount of time every week to literally be in physical pain. How bizarre is that? Like how like masochistic of that is that to be like, I'm going to commit X amount of hours every week to go out and do nothing else during this time. I am just going to go be in pain. Like, how crazy is that? How freaking bizarre is that? And obviously, we're simplifying it and boiling it down to the one point we're trying to make, because there are health benefits, of course. But it is very strange, especially if you don't enjoy it and if you're not seeing results, to be like, yeah, I'm just going to go hurt for a while. That sounds like fun.
And like I think a lot of people who exercise get into this like headspace where like the next day if you're sore, that means you did a good job. And to me, like in the next day when I'm sore with anything, I feel like I messed up. I did something wrong, and now I'm sore, and now I have to deal with the annoying little like consequences of it. But like with exercise and like running and stuff, being the sore part, like obviously the pain in the moment is a huge deterrent, but the being sore afterwards, like if like human biology was different and there was no being sore, I would just forget that it's painful. I would just the next day I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna run again because like I should run, and I only remember the health benefits, I don't remember the pain. But like that soreness is just a reminder, like, oh, it's a lingering reminder that, oh, this is gonna hurt, and if I go back out there again, it's just gonna hurt again right in these spots I'm feeling it, in my chest, in my lungs, in my legs.
Well, and it's that repeating that, especially for me with running, is like it makes the next day harder. Of like when you're tired out from the last day's exercise, and it's like, okay, now get up and do it again. It's like, I don't have much left in the tank. I need a few days to recover from that. And obviously it's just getting to the point where you don't need a few days to recover. Your body just gets used to being under that kind of stress. But yeah, it's tough. And I feel like, I mentioned my gym teacher and stuff like that. For a lot of people, when they are a kid and they are growing up, the reason they have gym class in schools and stuff is because that is part of developing. It's not just your mind, it is your body. And so they kind of give you that structure to be like, if nothing else, if nowhere else in your life you're getting exercise, we can make sure you're getting 30 to 60 minutes of exercise a day at school. And, in college, or as college grads, as we are now, that's gone. There's no artificial like way of exercise being kind of melded into your schedule without you knowing it.
Yeah, there's no fitness plan being imposed on you. And I think that's something as a kid, when I was in the thick of it, going to gym class, I would hate it, and I would just like feel that, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not, like, this doesn't seem like it should be a part of the educational experience. But now as an adult, I look back and think like, if I hadn't had any like exercise that I had to do on a regular basis, I would have just atrophied into nothing or just been like this huge like like a lazy person. But now that since we've graduated high school, there's no like mandatory set exercise we have to do, and in college I think there was only like 2 or 3 required courses for exercise. But for the most part, after high school, and especially after college, if you want to be healthy, you just have to figure it out yourself and either get a gym membership or like do your research and create some sort of like exercise plan. And I just don't have the motivation to do that.
And I don't want to speak for you, but I did my college level physical education at community college. I didn't do it at Pacific Lutheran. And for me, it was like a joke. Like I had like a stress management class, which was online, And it was basically like read a couple pages in the textbook and then meditate for 15 minutes. That was my PE class in college. Like that was my college level PE class, was read 2 pages and then meditate. And like I got physical education credit for that online, like which was a bizarre thing. And I'm not saying that doesn't have value. I'm just saying that once you get to the collegiate level, no one really cares anymore.
I think unless you're like going to school specifically for like health and fitness, like research and science, physical education department of most colleges, I would assume, I don't know like the ins and outs, but I assume there's a level of them saying like, well, a lot of the people here don't exercise and don't want to exercise, and we should like make some classes required, but like we shouldn't like really push it on them.
If you're like, say, an athlete or you're there on a sports scholarship, then obviously it's your own motivation to go exercise. You're choosing to do it because you know you need to. But for people who are, film majors or business majors or liberal arts or English or whatever it may be, probably not going to be as motivated to exercise. Or if it is, they're doing it on their own reasons, not because the school wants them to. And I feel like that's just part of getting older is, you're kind of at the point where no one's going to hold your hand anymore. If you want to do this thing, great, but you need to do it because you want to do it, not because someone else is going to force you to.
Yeah, for me, like my physical education classes at college weren't at community college. They were at PLU, and there were, I believe, 3 of them. One that was like, felt like a general PE class where we'd exercise every now and then some days be in the classroom where we'd like learn about like anatomy and like nutritional stuff. Then there were 2 more that I took later, but like in the same semester. One of them was relaxation techniques, which was actually like literally like meditation and like a class where we napped, which kind of felt, it was cool because it was like a P credit, but it was also like, this is like a college class. Like I feel like there should be more involved in this.
I'm paying how much to nap here right now?
Yes, seriously. And the second one was pickleball, which was fun. It was really fun. I could never be, I'm not athletic enough to like do any like major sports like tennis or whatever, but like pickleball makes me feel like I can be an athlete.
Pickleball's like a giant ping pong or giant table tennis. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, for me it's badminton, which is about as equally masculine as being like, oh, I'm really good at badminton. That's my freaking vice, man. I'm so yeah. I mean, again, there's not that glamour or universal respect that there is for a football player or a soccer player of like, oh yeah, I really like badminton. I'm freaking in it, man, all the way. Like there's just, society doesn't have that regard for pickleball or badminton, at least in the United States, that it does for some of these other sports. So what about, I mean, just like going to the gym or something like that? What's your relationship with that like?
It might have been 5 years ago or so that I had a gym membership that I got with my like sister, and our plan was to go to the gym together and stuff like that. And she stuck with it, and I like didn't, and I just kind of like quit halfway through. And with gym membership, at least the place I went to, I can't remember the name. I think it might have been like Planet Fitness or something like that. You pay like the whole thing up front, or at least that was one of the options that I chose, because I was like, I'm gonna commit, I'm gonna do this, pay the whole thing up front, so you don't have, it's not like a month-to-month basis, and like if you quit anywhere through, you just lose that money. And so I found myself like, I went a pretty decent amount at first, and then as it went on, I just went less and less, and there was a time when I would go months and like just not go. So I'm just like, well, I don't want it to auto renew, so I'm just gonna cancel my membership. Like I know I'm gonna lose a bunch of money, but I'm already not using it. And so I went to the gym, and I said, like, I'd like to cancel my membership. And I had to talk to a guy who, like, his job was basically to talk me out of it. But, like, not, like, in a super, like, pressure way. Just, like, in a, like, what's your plan? If you're not going to exercise here, where are you going to get your, like, exercise time in?
I'm going to eat freaking donuts and watch TMZ all the time. Leave me alone, guy. I've made up my mind.
I mean, what I told him, not entirely true. I told him, like, this, like, plan I had that really was, I kind of lied to myself, where I'd say like, oh, I told him I'm just gonna like exercise my own time and like do this at the house. And then he said like, yeah, I hear that a lot. And part of me was kind of like, dude, come on, like don't gotta make me feel bad. But another part of me was like, it's true, like I'm probably not gonna actually stick to that, and I haven't. But that was my experience with the gym. It was very short-lived, and it's just a huge, like, it's a time investment, it's a like financial investment. Those places aren't cheap, and like you were saying, you make time out of your schedule to go to a place to like put yourself in pain.
Well, and that's the line in the sand to me of like, I value my time very much. And as we get older, time is the most valuable resource we have because there is no way to get any more of it. You cannot possibly barter for more time. All you can do is try and waste as little of it as possible.
Yeah, this isn't like that Justin Timberlake action movie where time is money.
Oh, I wanted to see that so bad.
I never saw it. I just saw the trailer for it. I've heard good things, but
we had Xfinity, and that was like one of the 4 trailers they would play all the time this one summer. And so I saw that trailer, honest to God, probably 200 times. And I never saw the movie, and I was like, oh, it looks really good.
I just saw like the scene where he like gets like a coffee, and he's like 2 minutes for a coffee, and I was like, like that. It seemed like if this was a comedy and non-action movie, I'd be totally down. But it's like a sci-fi action movie where they're like $2 or 2 minutes for a coffee, and I'm just like, eh.
It is an interesting idea, though. But yeah, that's for me the line in the sand is not only the time it takes, but like I'm gonna go pay money now to be in pain. Like, okay, well, time is one thing. Maybe I can justify that. I'm gonna pay you money to go hurt myself 4 times a week. Like,
just a real quick aside, because I realize how much we're complaining about these kind of things. This is such a great luxury to complain about being in a like a kind of situation where we can be like, oh man, I have to like exercise now. And where even though it's like totally a choice and stuff.
I mean, obviously, this whole podcast should have a giant first world problems watermark in the bottom right corner of every episode. Like, hopefully that goes without saying.
Also, I love how this is the episode where we're like, because I feel like a lot of the episodes we've had, we talked about like stuff where at the end we like say like, and the moral of the story is, you know, this is what we learned and this is some advice. This episode we're just like, exercise is bad and you shouldn't do it.
just for 30 minutes, we're just crapping on exercise and being like, you like working out? Here's why you're wrong. This is like the 12 things doctors don't want you to know about exercising.
Exercise, more like schmexercise.
That was a good one, Eric. That was a good knock joke. In addition to, I mean, obviously we've talked about the financial investment, we've talked about the time investment, we've talked about just being in pain. There is this, in my opinion, and not just for men, for everybody, there's this unhealthy pressure, and as a matter of fact, probably more on women than men. There's this unhealthy pressure to be fit and to be in shape, and everyone, regardless of whether or not you know them personally, wants you to be quote unquote in shape, and there's this kind of overbearing pressure to have that.
I feel like a lot of people in your lives who like don't exercise probably are like, don't care. But I feel like the people in our lives who do exercise, whether they like say it or not, there's like a sort of feeling, an energy amongst us where it's like, I'm getting healthy, so like it'd be cool if you got healthy too or something. You're not like, maybe not even like intentional, or maybe I'm just imagining it, but like when I see a friend that's like getting healthy, I kind of feel like, oh, I should be doing something. And it's not like they're saying that I should get healthy. It's just me kind of like feeling I should be a part of something, or like I'm not getting on this like health train that's leaving the station.
I feel like when you're getting into something new, there's a certain level of mystery and unknown about it that can be kind of scary, of like, I don't really know where to start, I don't know how to get in on this. And so when you're doing it with a friend, or like you did with your sister, I feel like that's a little bit of an easier way to do it, of like, hey, we're getting into this together, we don't really know what to expect, but we're going to figure it out as friends and develop and grow and, you know, kind of be each other's support system there. And I feel like that can be, for a lot of people, a very, I don't know, just a little bit more of a comforting way to get into exercising or anything else they're not familiar with. A story I have is, while I was at PLU, our buddy Riley, who worked with us in the late night team, I mentioned to him in passing this last year that my New Year's resolution was to exercise more, just kind of referring to my morning exercises. And he was like, oh, well, we actually have a group that goes to the gym like 3 or 4 mornings a week. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I should try that sometime. And he's like, oh, well, we're going tomorrow at 6 a.m. And I'm like, okay. And so somehow I get talked into going, and I go with them to the gym at freaking 6 a.m.
Oh boy.
And I go, and I realized, first of all, I am not a gym person, and it took me about half a second at the gym looking around to realize that. And 2, I'm not a gym person in the sense that I had no idea what any of the stuff was. I didn't know the names of the equipment. I didn't know the proper lifting techniques. I didn't know anything at all. I had no idea how to navigate that world. And because of that, there's this level of kind of self-consciousness when you go into a gym and there's all these, you know, bodybuilders there, or even people that are just caring about their body. and you have no idea what you're doing. You're doing everything wrong. You can't lift any weight. You feel like everyone's staring at you. It's just such a turnoff to me of like, I don't want to mess around with any of this. Why? I could be in my dorm editing videos right now. You know what I mean?
Anytime I go to a gym, I haven't been to one in recent memory, but like I definitely get the fish out of water kind of feeling where like I see people working out and like these people know what they're doing. They've probably gone here for years. And like, I mean, that's true with anything. When you're new to anything that has like a social element, like a place where you go to use equipment that everyone else is using, or that's not at the same time obviously, but like a place where people go to work out, like if you're new, you're gonna feel like, oh, this is, not my scene. And it doesn't necessarily have to become your scene, but like I feel like if you can dedicate enough time to just like getting through that kind of feeling of like I don't belong here, that's like a huge step forward in like committing to exercising and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's starting anything new is getting over that initial period of I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like a fish out of water, as you mentioned. And so obviously, having the motivation and the will to kind of push through that initial difficulty, I think is the key to being really good at anything. But for me, it was just one of those things where I don't care about this enough. This is not fun for me. I'm not enjoying it. And I don't, even if I were to put the time in, I don't care that much about the end result to justify the means, basically. And I was just like, all right, well, this is not for me. I tried it. I did it. I have worked out at a gym exactly one day in my life. And that's an experience I can cross off my bucket list. But I don't think I'll probably do that again. I went to a gym. Achievement unlocked. It's great. So, Eric, if we had sort of one takeaway or one sort of feather in the cap of why exercising sucks or whatever. No, and we're joking. Exercising obviously is very, very good for you. But what's sort of your needle in the haystack here that you'd take away from exercising?
Well, my takeaway from this is that people shouldn't be listening to this podcast for advice.
Yeah, just skip this one. If you're like on the fence about whether or not you should stop exercising, maybe just go to episode 11.
Don't skip this one. Just take this as like what you shouldn't do. Like when we say like, when we like kind of crap on exercise, just know that like, hey, we're not role models. You don't gotta hear this and be like, you know what, I shouldn't exercise. No, you should hear this and be like, I'm gonna be better than these two.
And hey, if in some weird, bizarre, twisted backwards way, something we said today motivated you to go out and exercise and start getting fit, let us know. Rub it in our face in the comments and be like, hey, I started exercising and you guys suck and here's why. Like, we'd love to hear that because it is good to be getting in shape and stuff.
If we accidentally did a positive thing with this episode, I would love that.
Yeah, this is our first, I feel like we did it in a fun way, but this was our first kind of like almost negative episode. I feel like it's just like this thing we're talking about sucks and here's why.
Yeah, I think the wedding episode was like almost kind of like that, or at least in regards to like children, because I remember you talking about how like we were talking about children at a wedding. You were like, oh, children's the worst, and I was like, oh, this is not.
Well, that wasn't my fault. Children are the worst, but I understand what you're. I mean, for me, I feel like it's. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it is finding something that doesn't feel like exercising, that you would enjoy doing that thing even if you weren't getting the health benefit from it. And for me, that's walking. I really enjoy walking. I find it's very relaxing. It's calming. It's a good way to have conversation or just to get out of the house for a little bit. And I will walk as long as the day is. I'm perfectly fine with that.
And there's a million different activities you can do to trick yourself into exercise, like skateboarding or like hiking or bicycle riding and stuff like that, or dancing. Like, find a way to trick yourself into exercise.
And if you try something and it's not for you, and it's, maybe how running was for Eric and I, then maybe just, keep trying something new, but don't give up. Try and find out at least one thing that you enjoy and can get you out of the house to be healthy for a little bit. Well, folks, this has been episode 10 of the Not Yet Adults podcast. Remember, you can find us all across the interwebs. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Yet Adults. We also have a subreddit, r/Not Yet Adults, so check that out if you have the time. We sure would appreciate it. The podcast comes to you each and every Monday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and all other podcast services. Remember to check us out everywhere you can, especially on that Apple Podcasts or iTunes. If you could rate us on there, it means the world and it helps this podcast get listened to by more people. We will be back Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time with a brand new episode. Until then, we love you all. And this has been Not Yet Adults.
10 episodes.
10 episodes, man. We did it.
Officially double digits.
Officially double digits. Our episode's old enough to drink. Wait, no, that's not how.
No.
Nope. All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.